And looks like we are live. Excellent.
And one more time. Hi, folks. Greetings.
Happy Tuesday. My Tuesday terriers.
Yeah, I always look forward to Tuesdays.
Absolutely. It's the one day of the week she showers, you see.
Well, maybe. Yeah, you could be right.
Elder abuse.
Yeah. She's,
I know.
Don't get me started.
Well, who do you think's responsible? You brought me up, didn't you?
Drugged you up.
Dragged me up, not drugged me.
No,
dragged me.
Dragged you up, yeah. Anyway, another week. We're still here despite all the gloom and doom that the press and all the media are pushing at us. What a wonderful world, isn't it?
It's a great world.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh, I know. I'm very happy with it, but
there's more good than bad. And I think hanging out with good people only just begets goodness.
That's right.
Which is what we're going to do today with our dear, I won't call him an old friend.
No, I'll call him a repeat offender.
Yes, indeed. The author, producer, will be well known to many of you in our Beatle family. Bring on Charles Rosenay.
And 3 exclamation points.
I should have put repeat offender instead of author, producer, tour host.
Yeah, okay, fine.
How do you say exclamation, exclamation, exclamation? You just say it that way?
They're silent.
Oh, they're silent.
Oh, it's like the P is silent as in bathing.
Yes, that's a Jim McCartney. The P is silent as in bathing. Well, welcome.
Great to be back. You guys look beautiful as always.
Thank you. It's a bit of Cyrkle and some Avon,
Yeah.
We're all red. It's such a red day.
I know.
Well, we thought because you have your Liverpool
connections
organization, we dress the part for the Liverpool color. Absolutely. I don't know what the Evertonians will think about that, but
Never mind. Well, Charles's company wasn't called Everton Productions, so couldn't really wear the blue.
No. Yes.
So you're coming to us from Connecticut, I believe?
Yes, Connecticut, New Haven area, where it's a beautiful day, and I'll be playing softball in about 2 hours.
Oh, good.
Excellent.
And running around like a little kid, but now I'm, here with you to talk about all stuff Beatles and all fun things.
And your new book, particularly.
Absolutely.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the follow-up to a book that, Angie, you were in my first book too, which was the book of top 10 horror lists. And people are like, really? Angie McCartney is in that book? I go, yeah. There's
Angie McCartney's book is a horror. Angie McCartney's life is a horror story.
All she should have done for that is just show you her American Express statement. That's a horror.
No, people commented that was such a great list and so many great choices. But Ruth, I know you were offended. You weren't in the horror book. I know, but you were.
Right. I'll get over it.
You had to be in the Beatle book and the book of top 10 Beatle lists, which is sort of not a sequel to the horror book, but certainly the Beatle fans were saying, Charles, how dare you put out a horror book before a Beatles book, slapping me across the face.
You can't win them all, Charles. You always displease somebody, whatever you do.
Well, I had to get, one out of the way and get the next one, proper and perfect.
I really enjoyed it. It was easy to read, and it was great fun.
It's a good read if you're going on a plane or a train or something.
Or sitting on the toilet even.
Oh, Angela. You see, the British, what are we, like 6 minutes into this, and she's already said toilet.
Haven't said bowels yet, though.
I can't argue with it, though, because it's the type of book that you read, here's a chapter. Good, I'm done with it. I can read the next one tomorrow. You don't have to sit and read 300 pages in one sitting and follow the whole story, because it's segments, it's chapters. It's
great. Yeah.
Right.
Celebrities giving me their, top 10 favorite Beatle lists, and not necessarily just Beatles songs.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you meet any resistance? Did anybody turn you down when you asked?
Yeah, but not, not in a bad way. I shot high in some cases. I really wanted Lin-Manuel Miranda, Mr. Broadway, Mr. Hamilton. And I saw him live do a chat in New York where he talked about the Beatles actually being an influence on his early days, which you which you wouldn't know from his work, but it's like, I gotta ask him for a list.
Yeah.
So I wrote something up real quick, handed it to one of his handlers, wrote something else, gave it to his chauffeur driver, sent one to his bookstore, sent one to his theater, sent 15 places and didn't hear anything. Book went to print and I got a letter from him. But it wasn't a list. It was a beautiful, sweet rejection saying, sorry, it's not something I'm prepared to do. But he signed an autograph, sent me a photo, and a list.
He's a hell of a guy, isn't he? Wonderful guy.
Yep.
I'll take it. There weren't a lot of rejections. One of the first rejections I got was Julia Baird, John Lennon's sister, who would, we're so close. And I'm like, how can I have a book without her? Well, it's because she wrote the forward. She said, I don't know.
Of course, yes.
I'll write a forward for you.
A double whammy, wouldn't it?
That's very nice.
Yeah. Good.
Rick Lauthers, our friend Rick, is asking if you have a Beatle tribute band that is your favorite. I mean, I have several because of the different elements. One's got a great Ringo and one's got a great John. It's a tough question, right?
Rick, how dare you? Why don't you ask me which is my favorite child? I mean, that's so hard to do. Because I've got friends in every band. So I represent a band in Connecticut called the Hoffners. So because I'm diplomatic, they have to be my favorite. But I mean, you talk about Fab Four, Rain, 1964, Liverpool Legends, the cast of Beatlemania. They're all, and those are just American bands. They're the top of the line. Any one of them is, a 5-star, the best of the best. And then you go to England, and there's a whole bunch more, and then in different countries. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I'm very partial to the Mop Tops.
Yeah, they don't play much anymore. But
they don't.
Joe Stefanelli.
But Joe Stefanelli is an absolute dead ringer. For John.
He's a gem. He's a great John, and he's a funny guy and a good actor. He's got to go. I love Stefanelli.
We have an office
yesterday with him.
We have an office in Vienna, in Austria, McCartney GmbH, and they have various Beatle bands in Central Europe. And one of my favorites is called the Backwards is it Slovenia, Martin? Yeah. Slovenia or Slovakia. I unfortunately always get those two mixed up. But the Backwards are amazing. And when we did Angie's book launch 10 years ago now in 2003, no, 2013, yes.
31st.
We did it in Liverpool at the Liverpool Philharmonic, and we had Beatle bands from all over the world. And one of the funniest was this group called the Tetrads from Japan. They flew in from Tokyo to London, drove up to Liverpool. They were jet lagged off their gourds. All the hotels were sold out. There was something on that weekend. And so we arranged accommodation for them in the floating yellow submarine in the Albert Dock. So can you imagine?
Nice.
They got off a plane from Tokyo, and then they find themselves in a floating hotel like an Airbnb.
But before that, they drove up to the hotel where we were staying in Liverpool, and they couldn't speak any English.
Yeah, really broken English.
And I thought, oh my God, what are they going to be like on stage? But they sang perfectly.
Unbelievable.
Japanese bands are as you know, I bring fans every summer to Liverpool for Beatle Week, and 50, 60, 70 bands from every part of the world. The Japanese bands never fail to impress because they don't speak a word of English, and then they're exact, and they're great. We love the Japanese bands.
It was truly amazing to hear them talk because you could hardly understand them. Their accent was so heavy. But when they got behind the mic, it was just like it was phonetics. They sounded like the Beatles. Mark Lindsay, our friend from Houston, saying we Britain's finest are also
great.
Also great. That's
so many.
And Peter said the Fab Four, and
not as a dress alike, look alike. No. But sound, unbelievable. Fab Four are up there with the best of them, no doubt.
Yeah. And Tony Kishman is an amazing Paul. Yeah. Just incredible. So what age did you become interested in the Beatles?
One of my first memories in life, and I repeat this a lot, the Ed Sullivan Show. I was gobsmacked like the rest of the world. I just loved every inch. It was the hair, it was the sound, it was the look, and it was the music, above and beyond. And I said, wow, That's what I want to be. But unlike all the musicians who actually turned into rock stars because they saw the Beatles, I had no musical talent. So I had to find other ways to be. I became a party DJ and MC, wrote about the Beatles, produced Beatle conventions, did Beatle tours, literally did everything else that was humanly possible.
Don't say.
Yeah.
Now with authoring a book, except being there was no. It wasn't right. There was no classes on being a Beatle.
There are now.
They're all now.
I would have gone to those classes. Every guy who watched Ed Sullivan, wanted to be a Beatle, and I think every gal either wanted to sleep with one or marry one. That was pretty much,
all of them.
Yeah. Our friend and number one fan Elizabeth is saying, Charles took me under his wing when I first came to Beatles Week in Liverpool, and she's eternally grateful. So that's what I love about when I talk to your tour mates, customers, whatever you want to call them. You really do go out of your way with these tours to sort of nurture everybody. And it's a real, again, like the Beatle family, it's a real family feeling you put forward. How did you come up with that concept?
Well, I'm glad you said that, because people recently asked me, don't you get tired 40 years going back to the same places? And I think of does Paul get tired of singing Hey Jude? No, because you're eating the audience's response. And that's why going to Liverpool every year, when I see the faces on the people who go to Penny Lane and Strawberry Field and Abbey Road, it's like I'm living it all over again. First time I went was in '83, and I was the host. There was a company called Rock Apple Tours, and they said, Charles, why don't we bring your Good Day Sunshine readers? Because I used to publish the magazine Good Day Sunshine. And so most of the people who went on the tour were actually friends of mine already who, like me, this was their dream to someday go to the places where follow in the footsteps of the Beatles. And it just grew from there. I mean, there was years where we were bringing 3 coach loads, 150 fans, Now, as we've gotten older, so have the guests, and it's harder for them to get around. So I was thinking, the past few years, certainly with the pandemic and all that, maybe this is really faltering off. But this year we're going back inside Abbey Road Studios, and we're back up to a coach load. We got over 50 people. So it's been, for my 40th anniversary, very exciting. We're sold out. If someone wants to come with me on liverpooltours.com to England, do it next summer. Do it in 2024.
Yeah. Wow. That's truly amazing. And again, it's because it's not thousands of people, it's 50 or 100 people. You really do make friends and you get to know. I think, when you're on vacation, we've made some of our best lifelong friends on holiday, because you're not surrounded by your daily grind and all the things you have to do. You've got time to really connect with people.
Lifelong. People, write to me every summer, have a great trip. They know I'm going, sending Christmas cards back and forth. We can't wait till the 50th year anniversary. We're going to come again. But you're right. Friendships are forged, and people are just, love the trips. And it's the people who are on the trips. It's so special. It's kindred spirits. They have the same loves and the same. Yeah.
John Perry is also obviously an amazing Beatle person, and he's saying you've done so much great work. We have a question here from Sean Vincent. How did you get Pete and Rogue Best to get involved with your top 10 list? What's the story behind that?
Sean, I love you. Sean has a list in the book because he's been there from day one. And Nat Weiss and all that, and there's a photo of him on top of the rooftop. Sean's picture is in the book. But how did I get Pete? Now, mind you, Pete gave me a top 10 list for the horror book. So he was one of those other Beatle people in the horror list book. And I thought, well, this will be a natural, Pete. And I started asking Rogue, and a year goes by, a year and a half go by, and I'm in touch with Sean. I said, buddy, I can't get a list from these guys. It's like pulling teeth, and it should be easy. Rogue's list should be the top 10 reasons to visit the museum.
Yes.
This is a natural tie-in. And I'm pushing. Finally, we're all together at a convention in Massachusetts. Pete and Rogue had only done one convention appearance in the U.S., and I had a paper and I had a pen, and I said, "You're not going to leave this convention," because I saw them in August during Beatle Week and couldn't nail them down, but got it at the convention. And there's no way I wouldn't have put out the book had Pete and Rogue not been in it. They needed to be in the book.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Great.
But you've also, we touched a little bit on the tours, but you've also produced Beatles conventions and festivals. But then you had a magazine, Good Day Sunshine, right? I mean,
it was nearly 30 years, wasn't it?
It was incredible.
Yeah,
almost 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned Good Day Sunshine, because thanks to that magazine, and it was a labor of love. If you put out a fanzine for 20 years, you're not making money on it. You're doing it because it becomes a habit, because you love it, but it opens so many doors. I went to conventions to promote Good Day Sunshine, and I would be meeting new people who would then go on a tour. So one thing led to another. Everyone loved GDS. Everyone loved it. But when it was done, it was done. And I thought, my God, 20 years, I wasn't putting out a magazine in my brain. I was putting out a book every other month, 6 books a year.
Wow.
So people would say, "Hey, Charles, when are you writing a book?" I would say, never. I would say never. I say, I put out how many books? 6 times 20. I put out hundreds of books in my life. I don't need to do a book.
Right.
And then it made sense, because this was the book is unlike any other book out there. It's not telling the history of them recording Revolver. It's not, it's a fun fan book that even if you're not a diehard Beatle fan, you're going to love it, because you want to read what is Angie McCartney's top 10 list. What is, this actor, this actress, this rock and roller. It's something that everyone, is very interested in, and they're learning new things from it. Just like Good Day Sunshine. Every other month, they would learn new things from the magazine. Here they're learning new things from the book itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our friend Mark Lindsay's saying, do you know of, or have you ever considered doing a Beatles convention in Houston? Because it's always LA, Chicago, New York, right? Houston's a huge city.
So for many years, I was always doing those secondary, for lack of a better word, cities. Yeah, I was in Boston, I was in Philly, I was in Cleveland, in Columbus, and so many places. But it was when I would do a convention or festival outside of my area, it was mostly with other promoters who said, "I want a convention in St. Louis or Kansas City," right? Didn't we meet at?
Yes, right. Yeah. We went to Kansas City. Yep.
And it was a case of the promoter may not have done one before, wouldn't have known how to get a guest, wouldn't have known how to get vendors. So it was like, Charles Rosenay, I'm doing a show. Would you like to be part of it? And I would jump anywhere, Denver, wherever it was. So we did a lot of cities. And if I'm not mistaken, there were a few Houston festivals or conventions. But, now see, there we go. Pittsburgh, anywhere would be great. Wherever there's fans, they would love it. Yeah. It wouldn't.
There are fans everywhere. Can you remember where it was that you and I first met? I was on a panel with Cynthia Lennon, and you came on stage and announced a surprise guest who turned out to be May Pang. And I thought, May Pang, Cynthia, ooh. But fortunately, they'd already bonded and made a friendship. And May was doing her best to reunite John with Julian.
Yeah.
Well, you were so kind and gracious to be a guest at my convention in Stamford, Connecticut. And Stamford, Connecticut, it was at a beautiful hotel. And the panel was Joey Molland came on first, then you, then Cynthia, and then May. And then I did something else which shocked the crowd. And it was the funniest thing. And you were hysterical. I said, and now, ladies and gentlemen, Yoko Ono. And the crowd is standing up, looking at the door. I said, shut up, sit down. I'm just kidding. But I looked at my panel. You and Joey were laughing so hard. May had a face like, I don't know what to do. Cynthia, she had flowers in front of her, which she picked up and was ready in case Yoko walked in to hand her flowers. What kind of class is that? Unbelievable. I remember because it was like for me, slow motion. I looked at the whole panel. You were like, you knew already. You knew I was BS in the crowd. You knew I was taking the piss out of everybody. Everyone else.
And I think Shannon was at that one, wasn't she?
Shannon was at that convention. That's right. I think that's where you guys met.
That's the first place I met Shannon.
Yes.
Actually, Shannon was on TeaFlix a couple of months ago, and she told the story about how she drove up there with all her stuff, and she was really nervous. And this was really kind of her. She knew she had the talent, but this was really kind of one of her entrees. One trip to Liverpool and then your convention in Connecticut was kind of her entree into Beatles world, realizing, oh boy, this is a crowd. This is a really dedicated family. So I'm sure you can take some credit for opening Shannon's eyes. I love Shannon. She's amazing.
Well, hello. It's her photos. I mean, it's her photos.
Yes, I know. Yeah,
I know they look like photos.
Yeah, they look. They're amazing. Her amazing art, graces my cover, and I'm honored by. I even gave the credit right on the cover art by Shannon. I will share with you. And I don't know if you knew this, but that convention to me, I was using my public relations. I thought this was the great publicity stunt. I advertised it as a McCartney, a Lennon, and a Harrison for the first time in history at one convention, because it was you, Angie. It was supposed to be Louise, and of course it was Cynthia, but Louise backed out, sort of screwed up the advertising campaign on that one, and we still had a McCartney and a Lennon together, which was very.
Well, I have a similar story when I was signed to BMG doing my music career in the late 80s and early 90s, based out of Munich in Germany. I met a whole bunch of people tied up, as it turns out, didn't know then, with the KGB, and they invited me to come to Moscow and do a concert and then do some other gigs in Russia. So I said, well, sure, if you can send me all the paperwork and the invitation. So I bought a fax machine just for the marks, about $6,000 back in the day, and you had to have a special come around, you had to get a permit, you had to do all these things. So I sat in a deck chair for days and nights waiting for the fax from Russia, get the whole thing, sort it all out, get the tickets, fly to Moscow. And there's all of these people screaming at the airport. And I thought, my God, I didn't see Madonna on my flight. Is Michael Jackson in town? What the hell? And they were all there squealing for me because the damn promoter had put up billboards all across Moscow saying McCartney comes to Moscow. And it was,
the other one.
It was me.
That one.
It was me, not him.
It's brilliant and it's very manipulative.
Camera crews.
I'm in the baggage claim, looking for Bill Clinton or somebody going, well, who else is here? This can't be for me. Well, yeah, the promoter did. He had the same thought you did.
They even had ambulances there because the crowds were so big.
Oh,
I thought there might be riots.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
And her record, that album went cardboard, didn't it, darling?
It did.
Yes.
It
didn't go gold. It went cardboard.
Yeah, I've been in the music business since mono, and it did actually very well. It was number one in Russia, and I had the first MTV music video type thing in Russia and all that stuff. But enough about me. Karen Rita is asking, how much fun was it to portray Davy Jones in Monkey Mania?
Oh, yes.
Wow. So, it's funny because early on I said no musical talent. And please forgive me, Davy, you are one of my heroes of all time. For me, it was Beatles first, Monkeys second, and then everyone else after that. Yeah. I was producing monkey conventions because I love the Monkeys, and they were, I thought I wanted to bring it to a higher level, the way my Beatles shows were, but we didn't have a Monkeys band. So a bunch of my friends, we got together and I said, I can play a tambourine. I can play maracas. I can do a little Davy move. Well, sure enough, I got away with being able, I could hide. I was able to sing well enough to get by where the other guys were doing Mike and the other guys were doing, Mickey, because Mickey's a pretty higher voice. But I was Davy Jones in a group called Monkey Mania for a few years, and it was a blast. I loved it.
See, your fans are on. They got the message. Elizabeth's just saying, brilliant question.
Yeah.
God, the questions are coming in so thick and fast. I'm having a hard time catching up with them. So, what else have we got here? So tell the folks, while we've been talking about your top 10 Beatle list, while it's on the crawl across the bottom, tell folks how they can order the book.
Well, the easiest way is through Amazon, where you can get anything in the world on that. But most people, fortunately, want a signed copy.
Yeah.
So if you want me to personalize it, autograph it like you guys do when you send out your stuff, there's a website and it's on the scroll and it's under my name. It's bookoftop10beatleslist.com, and it tells you how to email or give a call. And I'd much rather send out a personal copy anyway than get it through Amazon. Yeah, of course.
There we go.
Yeah, good.
So Karen is actually saying being ace on the maracas would actually get you into a group called the Happy Mondays these days.
Yeah, well, it's not just the maracas now, mind you. You got to do the maracas while you're doing the tambourine, while you're dancing. So there's a little more to it. But someone else mentioned a collector's call, and that's another connection with the Monkees, because I was called on to this show in the States. It's called Collector's Call. It's on the MeTV network, and I was the Monkees expert who gave the value of this gal's collection. She has her own little Monkees museum in Connecticut, and they sourced me out, and I looked at the items and said, this is worth such and such, and this is worth such and such, and then they go, okay, we're going to take a commercial break. At which point I looked on eBay to make sure I was getting these right. And fortunately, I was pretty much on the nose with most of them. But the hard part was at the end, I had to evaluate her whole collection.
Oh, gosh.
Fortunately, no one can know this, so this is just between us. Fortunately, she had told me, what she had it insured for.
Oh.
So I knew at least in the ballpark what it was worth, and it's worth more now, because as of this week, she's gotten one of the only two Monkees pinball machines in the world, custom made items. So that's really exciting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mark Lindsay, our friend from Houston, he's a collector too, and so he's agreeing that was a great collection. So you are going back to Liverpool this August, yes?
Yes, for sure. We have a great group, and we're going to be doing all the same things we normally do, plus go inside Abbey Road, go inside Strawberry Fields. They've turned it into a museum and a visiting area. So special. If people really want to know which places to go to in Liverpool and they don't go on my tour, is there a book they could look at? Is there a way they could find it?
There might be something called Ticket to Ride
by some old bird called Angie McCartney.
On mrsmccartneys.com.
You like the way I did that? You like that segue?
I see what you did there, my friend.
Wonderful.
Your 10% is in the mail, my friend.
Check's in the mail, pal. Yeah.
Yes, it's called Ticket to Ride by Imagine and Wonder Publishers, out of New York, who also published the Bruce Spicer Beatles box set. So they're a very Beatle-friendly publishing company, run by a lovely English chap called Stephen Wilson. And tangentially, funnily enough, do I get points for tangentially? See, I throw a word in every week that I'm supposed to get points for. Yeah.
I tried hysterectomy, but it didn't do any good.
Yeah, no, you don't get points for that. So where was I? Anyway, so Imagine and Wonder, they have Ticket to Ride out by Madam. It's it's small, it's light, it's a hardback, good quality, full color book. And in it, for every single destination in Liverpool, London, Hamburg, New York, and LA, my dear husband, Martin, who is the publisher-in-chief of the McCartney Times at McCartney.com, has built a companion webpage, landing page, and there's a QR code so you can scan it, land on the page, and get more information and links and some videos, and it's a truly interactive book. Thank you, Debbie. Angie loves your new book. So there you go.
Good.
She's almost finished with the next one.
Yeah, which is called There Are Faces I Remember, and it includes a chapter about a chap called Charles
Rosenay. ...
exclamation, whatever.
In a certain chapter by a certain Ruth McCartney did in my book, There Are Places I Remember, the top 10 Beatle related places I remember. So this all ties in, this all connects so beautifully.
It's almost like we planned it.
It's a bit like playing Scrabble in a way, isn't it? You make them all the dots connect eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's great.
Yeah.
So, Angie, yeah, you're in Angie's book. People can buy top10beatlelists.com. Have you got any places left in August? Are there a couple of seats left on the coach, or are you completely sold out?
People can join us as a kind of adding on and jumping along, but for the coach is packed. If they want to, go from A to B, if they want to go with us from London to Liverpool and then return on that's all. There's no more room, but we can fit them in. We can fit them into other things if they want to come inside Abbey Road Studios. If they want to do some of the portions of Liverpool, we can make that happen. 2 days before we're going to be in Abbey Road, Billy J. Kramer's going to be there celebrating his 80th birthday, doing a new recording there.
Yes, I'm glad Billy's getting out and about. He's looking good.
He is. He's such a handsome man.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I tell you, he was a heartthrob. He's in Angie's book, of course.
Of course.
Such a heartthrob. I had a little crush on Uncle Billy growing up, I have to say.
Yeah.
He was
a bit of all right, as we say.
Elizabeth's saying, hey, you should have Mrs. McCartney's teas on your coach as the beverage of choice. Duh.
How did we not already do that? Thank you. She's right.
Yeah, we can talk about that. We can package that.
Get my people to call your people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Way to do a tie-in, and then I think our friend from Houston should do a festival. I'll help him produce it, and you will be my special guest. So let's continue all this, connections.
There we go.
Good. Yeah.
So Mark Lindsay just left you a message, Charles, on your website to get your book, which is fantastic. Great. And George.
By the way, Mark Lindsay was such a great singer in Paul Revere and the Raiders. Mark, I've always been a fan of yours.
different Mark Lindsay.
Another guy. Yeah.
And George from Strawberry Alarm Clock is on too. So there's
that's a lovely name, and Strawberry Alarm Clock.
There's another Beatles connection. The Strawberry Alarm Clock catalog is now owned by MPL. You see?
Yeah.
And the world gets smaller. Luna Collins is saying hello. Oh, Mark Lindsay said that guy spells his name wrong.
Yeah, he sure does.
Yeah.
So hi to Luna. So Karen is asking, do you have a
especially like
personal Zen place?
So the Casbah is very special to me because it's, the first time I was there, I got to dance with Mona. And it's a special, special memory. We had a party, and I'll never forget that. And sometimes you do something, and you go over and over to the cavern. You go to this place and that place, and you go to Lipa, and you go over the grapes, and you crack. But that was a once in a lifetime,
Yes.
And I became so close with the Best family since then that Rogue always says, Mona loved you, and I always Mona reminded me of my own mom. So there was a lot of symmetry there, and that's the one that comes to mind.
Special, yeah.
Paul Ferranti who is also a Beatles author from Memphis, and a previous TeaFlix guest. He's saying, "Did we coordinate?" No, it was actually we did, but we three didn't. So it was just. It's
telepathy.
What was it? What was that? One of those blonde jokes when it was politically correct to tell blonde jokes.
Yes.
It was like, oh my God, look, you must have that ESPN thing.
Well, we've all got the light hair. We all.
That's true.
I think yours is out of a different packet, isn't it? We get 2 packets for 3.
Yeah, actually, 2 packets, 3 people. My husband's hair is the same color as ours.
2 coats, 1 afternoon.
And it's I love that. The producers, 2 coats, 1 afternoon. Indeed, Joanne, the Casbah is a very special place. And I'm so glad that Rogue is, has got it back up and running. And it's a shame that it wasn't open all those years. But I suppose there's a lot of emotion too.
Oh, yes.
That, bringing strangers into your childhood home.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, he's taking it to the next step because there's going to be suites, and it's going to be a B&B, and that'll be special for fans who actually, want to stay in such a historic place.
Yes,
absolutely wonderful.
I've been watching his progress all the time. It's wonderful. He's doing some lovely stuff.
Yeah, indeed. Mm-hmm. So, what else have we forgotten? We've got that. We haven't talked about the horror list. How I know you wanted to start before you got into Beatle World, but what brought you onto the whole horror thing? I mean, you don't live in Salem.
I'm not far from Salem. And I actually, you wouldn't believe it, but I produce a Salem paranormal and horror convention every November.
Really?
Yeah. So there's a lot of that in my heart. I grew up, I always said the three things I grew up loving was baseball, the Beatles, and monsters. And it wasn't real life monsters. It was, the universal, the ones that, we all grew up on, Dracula and Frankenstein and the Wolfman. And that never left me. But when people knew I was doing the Beatle tours, one of my best friends said, well, why aren't you doing other tours? Can't you be doing like other stuff that you know about and love? And that's of course. Well, yeah, I don't think it exists in real life, but what about let's do Transylvania?
Wow.
And sure enough, that's what gave birth to the Dracula tours. This is our 25th anniversary, bringing people to Romania. Every year I do a Dracula tour along with the Beatle tours.
Wow.
And so the monster stuff has always been part of my
guy.
You're a documentary all by your own self, aren't you?
A horror movie better.
Well, yeah, X-rated.
Have there ever been any Dracula Beatles tribute bands? Like
There might be by tomorrow.
Well, because Michael Jackson with Thriller, he kind of went down that road with the music and the horror, didn't he?
Well, Ringo did Rack My Brain, which had monsters in it. John Lennon became John Lennon animated out of Frankenstein. If you remember Yellow Submarine, right. I could go on. There's a lot of those connections. But if you Google, there is a Beatles novelty song, and I forgot what it is, and it's probably one of the worst songs ever written. But Google horror monster Beatles novelty song, and something pretty wacky comes up.
That
okay, we'll get on it.
Maybe we'll have to do a special Beatles Halloween costume thing this year. Now that Halloween is back and travel is back, I'm so glad for you and for the world and for everyone in general. I think especially people of our age group and growing up when we did in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, we just grew up with human connection. We weren't all tied to our devices. And, you go to a restaurant and you see a couple with their 2-year-old baby and the baby's got the iPad, and when the battery dies, the baby starts screaming. Like,
yeah. And the parents are on the phone talking to each other by text.
Yes.
I know.
At the same table.
Well, we live in the same house and we text each other.
Yeah.
She's upstairs and I'm downstairs. And below stairs. Yeah.
And Strawberry Alarm Clock's next single is apparently called Monsters. So you see, we've come full circle here today. Isn't that amazing?
Funny, yeah.
George, how did I not get a list from you representing Strawberry Alarm Clock in the Beatles book or the horror book?
Well, you have to go to our TeaFlix channel, Charles, on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And it's on McCartney Studios is the channel. And look down for your next book, which I'm going to suggest. Look down all of our guests, and if there's anybody that you missed, by all means, we will put you in touch, and a list you shall have.
You're giving me incentive to do a sequel to the horror book and to the Beatles book. See that?
Absolutely.
I can see your wife rolling her eyes and going, oh, God, here we go again. Poor lady, she'll get a front seat in heaven.
She just goes, whatever you want to do it.
That's wild. Well, this has just been fantastic. I know you've got a softball game to do and all of these tours to Romania and Liverpool to organize. And everybody knows where to find you. You're famous, Charles Rosenay. Yeah. But go find Charles's latest book at, tell me, it's a long URL and it's just scrolling by, the book of top 10 Beatlelists.com.
Even though that's in the title, Book of Top 10, and it's the number 10, not TEN. Book of Top 10 Beatles Lists.com. And if you don't need my autograph, you can get it on Amazon.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for spending the time with us today.
Everybody's had it. Sincerely.
We love you too.
Yeah.
And it's for people who keep the Beatle dream alive, because they're never going to tour again. But, we all love them from the hearts of our bottoms, as we would say in Liverpool. And everybody, look, brilliant. Thank you. So thanks for spending the time, and we will definitely put ta-ra. Ashley Davies says ta-ra from Alabama.
We should only be able to do it for many years, guys. From for our lips to God, we should only be able to continue to do this year to year to year. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, kids, we will
Okay.
see you all of a sudden. And thanks to our fantastic guest this week, Charles F. Rosenay, and the 3 exclamations are silent.
Okay. God bless, Charles. Bye-bye.